So Betfair trading is as simple or as complicated as you want it to be. There are many different ways of doing it, many different styles, many different trading strategies, many different markets, but a lot of that is under your control. You could trade loads and loads of different markets for a small amount, adding up to a bigger amount, or you could just wait for that clear-cut opportunity to come along that you absolutely smash to bits. That is completely under your control. But very often people sort of overcomplicate things, make it seem very difficult. And the fact is that there are some really simple trades that you can do that will definitely work. So simple, in fact, that in this video, you're going to tell me exactly what to do on this trade. I've been successfully betting and trading for over 2 decades. If you want more videos like this and you want me to describe more of what I do, then give us a like. If you want to talk to like-minded people, visit the BetAngel forum where you can do exactly that, but also visit our website where you can download a free trial of BetAngel. So this was a trade that came around fairly recently, and it was one of those beautiful trades that if you're keeping your eyes open, you can actually spot the opportunity, you can look ahead, understand what's going to happen, and therefore take advantage of it. Now, it's important to understand that there are many different ways of actively trading, and some of what you decide to do comes down to your personal preference, your ability to be able to do it, your approach to risk, your sort of trading style, what you prefer, basically. I can't prescribe specifically what you should be doing or why, because only you will really know that. That comes down to a personal preference, something that you're good at or that you like or enjoy. It's entirely up to you how you want to do things. There are many different ways to trade any individual sport. And if we look at horse racing, for example, I can list a whole range of different types of trades, and I have done that, that you can apply to the market. You just have to wait for that opportunity to come along. Now, the interesting thing about my trading career is that when I first started on horse racing, I knew absolutely nothing about horse racing. So my approach to the market was very different from what most people would have sort of expected. And that was that I traded order flow. I basically would look at the market, try and identify specifically what was going on in the market. Is this horse being backed? Is it being laid? What evidence do I see of that? Where do I think it's going to go? And that is how I started on horse racing, trading order flow. And the advantage of that is that you can do it in pretty much every market. There are some markets that I really do not like, and I know I'm not going to do well on, and other markets that I can read like a book. But again, you know, trading order flow is something that is an acquired skill, because actively trading the market in this way can often be counterintuitive. It can be quite difficult to get to grips with to start with. When you first start doing it, you'll probably be slow and behind the market and therefore lose money. And you gradually build and acquire the skill to be able to do this on a regular basis. However, there are other ways of actively trading on horse racing, which I also use when the opportunity presents itself. So let me show you one of those opportunities that happened on the 2000 Guineas. So when you're actively trading, you can put as much of horse racing in it or as little as you require. Like I've said, order flow trading requires literally no knowledge of the race at all. You need knowledge of the markets, but not of the horse racing, the weights, or anything to do with it. That's quite a nice way of actively trading the markets. However, if you have a bit of knowledge of horse racing, you could probably anticipate something that could happen. And what happens to me over the many years is I started with zero knowledge of racing, and I just gradually built up a good working knowledge of many different aspects of racing that would just help me a little bit more than just an average trader who had no knowledge. It's just one of those things that you do, a way that you progress and move forward. So I began to learn about what a handicap was, what a maiden was, the structure of the racing, what leads up to the big events, and the different courses, and just about everything. I have a thirst for knowledge and for self-improvement, so I'm constantly looking at how can I be better than I was just a few days ago, literally. So understanding and acquiring a bit of knowledge of horse racing was quite important. So you begin to understand how horses run, the preferences they have and things like that. And slowly but surely that led on to a couple of different angles that I could follow and keep an eye on. You're already familiar with some of these, such as jockey trainer gambles and horses that like certain types of courses and a few other things like that, which I have covered in different videos. But I have also covered this particular tactic before, but the opportunity that we're looking at here was just right off the scale in terms of the way that it presented itself, how you could have anticipated it, and exactly what happened within the market as a response. So let's have a look at specifically what happened. So the 2000 Guineas is a big horse race. And when you look at all of the horses within that particular race, there's pretty strong form lines in each of those runners. In other words, you know how they've performed before. They've probably got a high, well, they have got a high official rating, and there are various other factors involved within there. So when we approach the day of a race, of any particular race meeting, what you'll find is that not only do horses prefer a certain distance, and some of them, you know, it's useful if they've run over a certain course, but you're also going to be looking at the going as well, because horses tend to prefer different types of ground. So the strategy we're going to explore here is to basically look at a couple of different horses and understand whether the ground on this particular day would have particularly suited them. And in order to do that, you're going to have to delve into the form lines. So this requires a little bit more work than other types of strategies, but basically when we turn up to a certain race on a certain day, it's possible to look at the form of all of the horses and get a deeper understanding as to whether the going is going to suit them. Excuse the pun. Because basically if the going is likely to be suitable for that particular runner, then you can expect its price to contract a little bit. In other words, the odds will come in, they will come from a higher price to a lower price. However, if the going isn't suitable for that particular horse, then the opposite will happen and the price will begin to drift. So let's have a look at two horses within the 2000 Guineas this year to understand exactly what sort of ground they would prefer. So let's look at the first horse in this race. In fact, it's the favourite, it's Auguste Rodin. And this particular horse seems to prefer softer ground. In fact, if we look at the Racing Post site, we can actually get a view on all of its key statistics and where it's run and how it's performed before. And in fact, the only time it didn't win was when the going was good. If we actually look at all of the other results, you can actually see that it's generally been on softer ground, yielding and so on, heavy. So this horse obviously and quite clearly prefers softer ground. And we can see that just by looking at its form line and all of the races that it's run in previously on the Racing Post website. Now let's have a look at its main market rival, Little Big Bear. You can see quite a contrast between these two horses. Again, we can go on the Racing Post website, we can bring up its card, have a look at races. I mean, you could go on any site in all honesty, but we're using the Racing Post here. We can look at the races that it's run in previously, and you can see that this horse doesn't like soft ground, or ground on the soft side, and all of its wins have come over much firmer ground. So this is a horse where a change in going conditions to softer conditions quite clearly is not suitable for it. So yeah, that is its main market rival. We could choose many different horses within this race, but the favourite and its main market rival were two horses that particularly stood out at the 2000 Guineas. So let me summarise for you here what has happened. Well, looking at the 2000 Guineas, it's a big race. All of the horses have strong form lines. We can look at those form lines, get an understanding of the ground conditions that each of these horses prefer. We've identified two horses that have very different characteristics when it comes to going. One prefers the going and one does not. The course was watered, which made it sort of slightly soft. Further rain fell, and then on the actual day of the race, we had an awful lot of rain, which made the going condition much softer. So which horse would have preferred this? Auguste Rodin, that has quite clearly has a preference for softer ground, or the other horse, which basically clearly does not. So from a trading perspective, you're looking to back at a high price and then lay off that position and you get the profit between the two. Or you're looking to lay at a low price and back at a high price. You could do it in either direction. So let's focus in on the favourite. We know that it likes softer ground conditions. What do you think happened to the odds of the favourite on the day of the race? Did they come crashing in, or did they go absolutely flying out? Because if the price came in, then you would want to back it at a high price and lay it off at a lower price and net the profit between the two, or vice versa. So given all of the information that I've given you so far, what do you think happened to the price of Auguste Rodin on the day of the 2000 Guineas? Drum roll, please. Of course, people started backing it. People knew that given the form lines and where it had won previously, it preferred the softer ground. The ground was getting softer by the second, so necessarily people felt that the chances of this horse going on to win the race had improved over the course of the day. And therefore that set off a load of backing, and that pulled the price in. So you could have actually anticipated exactly what was going to happen in this market. You could have traded it in a number of different ways, but nonetheless the key to this particular market was the change in going conditions and the impact that it had on Auguste Rodin, where the price was pulled in because it liked the ground, and Little Big Bear, where the price went out because it absolutely did not like that particular ground. So Betfair trading is as simple or as difficult and as complicated as you wish it to be. You can pursue quite simple strategies that are perfectly valid and produce a profit, or you can do something a little bit more complicated that involves a little bit more research. Because if you're looking at the racing over the course of the day, you're probably going to be scanning the entire card looking for opportunities like this. You're going to be looking for horses and races where the ground conditions are changing and where that's going to significantly favour or go against certain runners within that particular race. It's a perfectly valid strategy. It takes a little bit more effort, and it also doesn't occur on a daily basis because obviously you need changing going conditions in order to be able to do this trade. But the interesting factors that we had in play this week that this trade took place was that the weather wasn't fantastically great anyway. For some strange and bizarre reason, the clerk of the course decided to water the ground at Newmarket, and then the ground conditions deteriorated significantly more from there. As we head through the summer, one of the issues that you will have is that ground conditions tend to be pretty stable during the summer, and they can water the grounds to make them just right. However, when you get weather systems passing through, then you tend to find changing going conditions all of the time. So I do actually keep an eye on the weather, and you may notice me mention this in tweets and various other areas as well, because I'm always on the outlook for something that could disrupt the going and create a potential opportunity. But of course, this opportunity isn't going to come around all of the time. But if you keep your ears and eyes open and you have a little bit of planning and you're prepared to put the work in, there's no reason why you couldn't do this trade as well.